Hey, audience at home, this is one of those episodes where you're going to want to have watched the last episode in the timeline before this one, which is Battletech Oath of Endosteel Season 4, Episode 21. But this is Battletech Blades of Honor Season 2, Episode 6. Welcome back. I'm joined by James, Neobuzzard, and Raddosaurus. If you watch this show, but you aren't on the Discord, you may have missed that, oh god, we haven't had an episode since you started Battletech Hotspots Hinterlands. I guess that's true. You may have missed that we have started a Battletech Hotspots Hinterlands. And by we, I mean the guy above me. It's Neobuzzard. He started one. Rad has gone full into it. Big Spoon, Stewer, I think Fohammer's into it, Dunamis. I am not in it. I did one fight, and that was all it took for me to back away from it.
We're going to get you back in there.
The people who full sent on it are having so much fun and playing tons and tons of it. If you would like to get involved in a Battletech semi-competitive, semi-cooperative league play, hop on the Discord. You can find that link in the description section of this video.
I'll jump on and watch from time to time, but invariably I end up just doing fast hit number calculations.
Yeah, that's a real James thing to do for sure. What you need to do is wait for the turn to end and then explain why that was a bad move. And here's what would have been the statistically best move. That would drive me insane. All right, so look. I told you guys you would get a boon for your good works going into the first versus arc. Let's be clear, you didn't need a boon going up against the first Oath of Endosteel option. You were so far ahead and they so far behind. A boon would have had no value. You absolutely won this one, hands down. They barely managed to eke out a not complete collapse in the process. So going into this second mission, the search for the traitor, I still have that boon on the table. If you have some idea of what you would like that to be, let me know. And if it's reasonable, you can have it. You know,
not just the mech buster again.
Sorry?
Not just the mech buster again. You know, we'll go after this traitor with the mech buster.
Okay. That is a Raddosaurus suggestion right there for sure.
Arthur wouldn't let me just
Rad was like, if I knew
eliminate
that the entire enemy command structure was within a small area on the top of a mountain far away from civilians, I would just blow all them up.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, and if we had F-22s and F-35s and Maverick 2, it would have been a very different movie. We wouldn't have had the movie.
I'm so bummed we couldn't send them on a fake Top Gun mission. Like, I wish that would have worked.
It was very close to working.
If we hadn't bombed that roll.
Damn.
So, you know all of the local players. You know all the NPCs that you've encountered so far. There's several factions of military and government and criminal networks that are operating. You've received word that there is a traitor who is planning to defect to the Davians and in the process take their resources with them, which would be a massive loss in intelligence, and also it would open a new front in the war. Like, no matter who it is, they would be behind your lines. So while they might have some problems, they're going to open up a new, I don't know what the military would call it, axis of threat. And in a controlled area, you would say it's bad. You tell me where you'd like to search, where you'd like to start, who you think could possibly be a traitor based on everything that you know, who you want to investigate, and you still have that boon out there whenever you want to call it in.
So, are we thinking this is a global? Are we thinking this is a global threat, or is particular Hungetsu Bay, or like how wide does our dragnet need to be?
It's definitely an NPC that you have already met.
Okay.
is all I'll say.
All right. So
intelligence
the
is
first
high
place
that you've previously encountered this person based on intercepted radio chatter. Ooh, there we go. Now I sound like the NSA.
I mean, my first point of call, and this is more about securing our specifically our home turf being Hangetsu Bay, would be to start with Detective Hiro, not necessarily like thinking he's a traitor, but that he might be a useful tool to root it out. But in the same process, we can see his response because he to see whether he might be compromised. But yeah, if we go to him and say that somebody is compromised and we're trying to find out who it is, either we watch him and if he starts to act strangely because of that, that might be a clue. Otherwise, if we convince him, he might become an extra tool to help us. But that only really helps if the threat is in Hangetsu Bay. Beyond that, the people that we've met really is limited to the military people we met at the party we went to, which was more sort of on a global scale.
I agree with you in this, and I will say then, your search is limited to Hangetsu Bay. The trader is in the city limits.
Yep.
If that's all we know, then I would say...
Bomb Hangetsu Bay?
Yeah. Yeah, just a race. No.
I see. Rad is ready to start playing Warhammer 40k.
Dynamis keeps trying to get me to do Necromunda.
Necromunda, yeah. I think you might enjoy it.
I think I would too. I just don't have the time to do both Battletech and Necromunda. I kind of had to pick one. If Hinterlands ends and they're still doing that, or whatever their next version of that is, I would probably like to try it out. We should think about maybe systematically starting with who the largest threat would be. Like what positions should be investigated first, because they would be the most detrimental to the war effort. So, right, like rather than starting with investigating the cook, right, we should investigate the president first, kind of situation. Go ahead. If we want to minimize damage done by whoever the traitor is, then we should assume the worst case scenario, who's the worst case scenario the traitor could be, and then work down from there would be my strategy. Let's eliminate the highest ranking officials first.
Yeah, I mean, there you've really got Shogun. What was the Lord's name again that we used to work for, or we still essentially work for, but we still got
honor bound to Koji no Sagi.
That's it. But he was also slighted. So, like, I'm just thinking about people who have incentive to turn traitor. He was sort of slighted by the planetary military, sort of usurping us out of his area to go and work on a different scale.
I mean, Rad has directly messed with the Baron insofar as you asked for your criminal network to unionize and stop showing up at your ammunition factory that the Baron took from you as punishment for your crimes.
Didn't we also learn that his kid wants to replace him?
Yes, you did learn about Shiro no Sagi, who's recently returned to the planet after graduating and is a political mover and shaker.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm with Red. I think we eliminate them as suspects first, because it seems a little too convenient that guy comes back from college just as a Davian invasion is about to start.
That's true.
I mean, do you guys want to work top down? I'll work bottom up. I'll start, because obviously neither of you have a good relationship with Hirohito. I have a less cold relationship. I can still potentially use that resource.
My
you
concern,
want to start working on... Yeah,
because I think you guys make the best points, but my concern is, what if it's someone who's like a personal relationship to one of us, and then they try to compromise one of us through like a loved one or family member or something.
What if they are a family member?
Well, so I obviously had Poe, who was briefly captured by the Davians, but he is also like a long time loyalist, and he's also not that. Well, he's not privy to much information through me. Whether he has other sources is another thing.
I mean, we as players know that he's an ISF agent for sure, but You guys don't know that, I think.
Yeah. And then in my household, really, that just leaves Henya, who, I mean, look, she is estranged from her family to an extent, although less so now that we dealt with the people that she was most estranged with, but also her ability to move and shake is relatively limited because mine is limited, and she really only exerts my power.
I know there's Akari's father who's kind of shaking things up by like being anti-war, I think anti-conflict, right? And then there's the girl Siegfried's trying to date or is dating. That's like
Akari's
pro-mercenary.
dad, I wouldn't say he's anti-war. He's definitely pro talking about war. He has a very confusing philosophy of
he wants like military reform, right?
Yes.
Like wide-scale military reform.
He definitely wants to take better care of the military, and he's questioning the system of samurai power.
Right, he wants like a merit-based military system.
And while the samurai would definitely say that they are a merit-based society, I don't think it would take much for any of us to believe that not only is that not merit-based, but most militaries that claim to be merit-based are not actually merit-based, because who was it saying? I think it was Omar who was saying the ability to run 1 mile does not make you a better commander.
Yeah. I don't know what his motivation would be to be a traitor. Same thing with Akari's mom. I'm not sure what would motivate her to be a traitor either. She's got already pretty elaborate schemes in place that she's working. I would think that she would see this conflict mostly as a deterrent and an inconvenience to what she was trying to do. I'm not sure what opportunity. She's very opportunistic, don't get me wrong, but I'm not sure what opportunities she could draw from siding with what are they, the Lyrans? Davians, sorry.
It'll be the same thing for a little while.
Unless she made a deal where she would be put at the head of the state, but the Davians are specifically here to destroy me and my family. I don't see them like making that kind of sweetheart deal with Akari's mom. So I don't know that it would be anybody from somebody from my family would be a good mark, but I don't know who it would be.
I mean, because there's two questions. One is who would have a reason to turn, and two, who would have access to information or resources that would actually be
damaging,
dangerous to us. Yeah.
And who would logically be the one to turn? I mean, it wouldn't just be like who the most valuable person is to turn.
I think it's got to be. I would suspect it would be some other noble faction in the city that perhaps already has something against Akari's family or is motivated to tear down one, if not all, of our houses, has some kind of vendetta against the Blades. Somebody who has a motivation and something to gain from being a traitor. So that makes me think either somebody in the government or one of the other noble houses. And as we haven't spent a lot of time in like noble to noble conflict, it makes me think maybe it's somebody from the government or somebody inside one of our houses, like you said. I feel like those are the two most plausible things. Who's the guy that's the right-hand man to the Shogun?
Lord Sung Cho.
Well, yeah, Sung Cho, the one that sort of originally helped me get off my grounds.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know that I suspect him particularly. And then, of course, there's the criminal element. Yeah. If the whole Yakuza, like, if they suspected...
Just to stir the pot a little bit, one name I haven't heard around here, the detective.
I don't know how damning that would be. What is?
I said it several times.
sorry.
Hiro, that's what.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did say
started with
Hiro.
him.
That's right. You didn't say detective, so I thought you were talking about somebody else. But yes, Detective Hiro.
But you talked about using him as a resource, not necessarily as a suspect.
Sure.
Well, no, I wanted to start with him too. I wanted to eliminate him because then I can use him as a resource. But I still want to make. I want to test him by letting him know we're looking into it and then monitoring what he does to see does he actually go to help or does he actually go to hinder.
I guess the other thing I could propose is that maybe it's not someone who's turning against us because they seek gain. Maybe it's because the Davians have dirt on them.
Oh, interesting.
Now, just to be clear about the detective, his branch is specifically anti-Yakuza activities. He's not like a beat cop. He's not like a regular cop. You know, his charter is narrow.
But that's good then, because if we can eliminate him as a suspect, he can help us cover down on internal threats in the criminal underworld. If anybody's got a finger on that pulse, it's him, right?
Sure. I've tried to make it clear that he doesn't have that many resources.
That's true.
But he does operate in different spheres than you do. And his job is nominally gathering intelligence, just in a very different way.
I mean, if I were showing up, sorry.
I just think he's genuinely someone who wants to do the right thing. Like he is positively motivated, and so if we need somebody that is not going to be likely to be bribed or corrupted, provided he hasn't already been, he's a good resource to use.
I would also argue that if your intention was to come out onto the planet and go directly after the Akari family, or the Genji family, sorry, the guy who already has all the dirt on the Genji family would probably be the guy to try to turn.
That's a fair point, yeah.
I mean, it could be something to the effect of help us get the Genji family or help us get Akari, and you'll mysteriously start receiving funding that you need.
I don't think that he would go in. He doesn't seem like the sort of person that would go in for the whole backhanded deal, even if it benefits him.
I agree, but it's motive.
Does Hiro have any super secret spy resources he can draw upon for this endeavor?
As in me?
Yeah, as in you.
No, I am the resource. I don't have the resources.
Okay.
He is the handled agent.
Yeah. So I'm happy to go and talk to Detective Hiro if you guys wanted to start seeing if you can eliminate the Shogun or the Baron.
What if one of us is the traitor?
Would I do that?
That would be diabolical.
Would one of us do that? What if it was you, Rad?
What if I was the traitor?
And you're mocking everyone else by saying that.
Incredible. What a double play. I wish I had thought of that earlier.
Now, before we start talking to any NPCs or anything like that, I just want to remind you, you do have a free boon floating around in case you want to leverage that before, during, or after any discussions you're having.
What's the nature of the boon?
If you tell me something that's reasonable, you can have it.
Can we do like a guess who thing where we're allowed one question, like, is it a male? Does he have a beard? Does he look like a bitch?
Interesting.
Can it be can we determine one aspect of, or even one or multiple aspects of the nature of the traitor?
So you want to do an Akinator thing?
Well,
that genie you ask 20 questions to and it tells you who you're thinking of? Yeah. All right. If you want to do that, you can ask me a question and I will answer it. I'm committing to this, even though it could screw me so hard.
Okay. Who is the traitor?
No, I'm not going to answer that.
Damn it. Almost got him.
I mean, even Akinator is only yes, no. But I think that the way that I would try and find a traitor out is by deliberately seeding different intelligence into different areas and seeing which area acts on that intelligence.
You tell
Tyrion
everybody,
goes to Pycelle.
Yeah, tell everybody
I'm
where
thinking
you're,
of selling Marcella to
where you're going
Dorne.
to send Marcella. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking of.
Go to Peter Baelish, and the first thing I say is, no matter what happens, tell Cersei nothing. And he immediately goes, ooh, yeah, you're about to lie to me. Okay. Pycelle the sellout. Holy shit.
Yeah, can we stage like a convoy that's going to have some key intelligence or something that that's vulnerable, that would be super
we
super
need
juicy for a
multiple-
trader, and then make up a bunch of different stories?
We need multiple pieces of actionable intelligence, so each different. So you see which one the person acts on.
I was going to say we
Like
can set up
yeah.
we set up the convoy, tell a bunch of people different locations where the convoy is going to be, and see who shows up or something. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we're saying the same thing, kind of two different ways.
So we tell them there's a convoy. We tell them what time the convoy is going to be coming through, but then we have the convoy run through it every time we tell people, and then whoever we told, like, oh, they're showing up at the 8:30 time slot, that's who our trader would be.
Yes, something like that.
What are you saying is in the convoy? That they're going to risk their position.
That's our boon. Our boon is that there's something in the convoy that the trader cannot resist.
I see.
It's all the communications hardware we ripped out of the radio station.
Who are you fishing with this?
I
Do you
would
have
think
names?
as many as possible.
Well, I think that
I think the more people you tell,
That's
the
true.
more
Less
likely it
effective
is
it
that
is.
someone's gonna go, well, I heard it was at 8:30. Huh,
Yeah.
that's kind of weird.
How do we?
I mean, my thought would be it's got to be more macro scale. Like one bit of intel goes to the Shogun's power cell, not the Shogun versus his son. Literally, like the family / the leaders structure there. One different thing goes to like the police. One different thing goes to the Yakuza. You know, so that
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. You want to use that boon?
Then how do we detect who acts on it?
Based on that, I will tell you right now which faction within the city is compromised.
Yep.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
I think that's a good use of the boon.
Absolutely. Based on where and when you leak this, you have solid reason to believe that it is someone within the noble court.
Okay. Cool. So we haven't eliminated ourselves yet.
All right. Yep, that's true.
It's going to be that Spider-Man scene of like the three Spider-Man pointing at each other.
Yeah. All right. So first thing I do is I have the Yakuza assassinate my other two party members, and then.
Well, they're player characters, so they win that fight easily.
And
Moving on.
Yeah. And then
they
leave
hold
on
two
the ship.
SMGs and they go like this, and they gun down all of your. It's Expendables.
Yeah. It's Kill Bill. It's just a room full of limbs and blood all over the floor.
I would still like to, if it's okay with you guys, I would still like to bring in Hiro as now we're sure he's clean.
Yeah.
I don't know what, I mean, his resources limited. He's focused on organized crime, but, you know, he's good at things like surveillance, potentially. So I think he's a resource we could use if we can convince him to help.
I'm prepared to defer to you in all things trader investigation. I like that idea. I like Arthur said, he has a different sphere of influence and access than we do. And I think that's, even in the noble court, I think that's valuable.
Yeah.
I believe I've mentioned it before, but just in case I haven't, he was appointed by a noble who is higher up than the Baron to this position. He has a family member who is a higher ranking noble who basically gave him this job. I don't want to expand on that. No one really cared about his sordid, stormy backstory so far. You're more interested in going into the room full of corkboard.
Yeah, so I don't remember that. I don't remember we learning here. I think we knew he had, like, you know, you know, like someone was protected by somebody, but I didn't know it was tied to that nobility.
Yeah, he was appointed by his uncle.
Yeah.
Okay, let's set the scene. City Hall, in the police annex building. We go to his specific office, which has that, you know, the door outside. You have to get access to go into it. Like a police officer escorts you there. When the door opens, it's just Hirohito inside, and he's flipped all the cork boards over so you can't see what's on them. He's thrown, you know, covers over all of the open paperwork. The room is filled with takeout boxes, coffee cups. It looks like, you know, I don't want to say house cleaning, but it looks like the staff hasn't been in here for like 2 or 3 days to clean up, and he's just been living out of his office. He's wearing like a big overcoat style, and he's smoking a clove cigarette that absolutely stinks. You could see that the pack nearby says something like 20 times more nicotine than normal, like machine rolled, no filter clove cigarette, like absolute bargain bin, cheap ass.
So I think also to set the scene on my side, like normally when I've come here, I've always been in my sort of, you know, Mandarin collared suit, that sort of thing, you know. Because we're in the middle of like an actual invasion, I'm actually coming along in like military fatigues, like not like dress uniform, but like what you would wear if you're on base. Sorry?
Paramilitary, like fatigues and maybe a camo hat.
I still have a rank, you know, so that's not an exceptional rank, you know, but I still, I guess to emphasize the war element of what we're doing here.
Now, here's a question. Did you come into this police station armed with swords and sidearms?
I don't think so from the point of view that I normally wouldn't, you know, and Rad can correct me here, but normally if you're on base in BDUs, you're not carrying a sidearm, you're not in a combat zone, so.
Not if you're on base. If you're on a fob, you would be, right? Like, so I guess it kind of depends. You know, we're in an active war zone during wartime.
Isn't under current military.
Yeah,
not the front lines.
Then no, probably not.
That's it. So I don't think I'd be. It would probably be in the vehicle I turned up in.
Okay. We definitely showed up in like an armored personnel carrier with like you know, armed troops, like, you know, hanging out outside, pulling security around the building while we're in it, kind of deal.
Sorry, the lights just turned off. Don't move along. I should move in front of One of the funniest things I saw recently was because we've got the toilet lights go out if you don't move fast enough as well, and there's no sensor over the cubicle. So if the lights go out, you got to sort of, you know,
dance around, do some jumping jacks.
I saw a meme that said, you know, when the toilet lights go out when you're taking a dump because you haven't moved far enough, and it's got like the guy from Call of Duty game Bravo 6 going dark.
Listen. How is it, no matter what country you live in around the world, somehow you still fuck up the most common human activity of taking a shit? I don't understand. In America, we're like, you should probably have like 2 feet of clearance underneath the door and at least half an inch in between the door slots. No privacy is needed. Little kids should run past and be like looking in.
Yeah.
Hey, but what I will say though is America is very good at having partitions between the urinals.
Yeah, sometimes I can tell that you're a man who's never been to a New Jersey Turnpike bathroom.
Yeah.
You sound like a man who's only been in corporate office building bathrooms in America.
I thought that was something that was brilliant while I was in Japan, was that the bathroom stalls are designed in such a way that like where the hinge would be where the door is actually like kind of convex, and then the door edge is it's concave,
so
and then the door edge is convex, so there's no gap, there's no visible gap between them.
Japan is on a different level when it comes to toilets.
What a simple engineering solution this was to just completely solve this problem.
They've got the toilets where you wash your hands in the system.
Yeah, in the top part.
Yep.
Not in the system itself, obviously. That would be weird.
No,
Even though it's only clean water.
I just turn the bidet up and just let it shoot up into my hands, before I.
Oh my God. Absolutely disgusting. What the fuck, guys? So anyway, we're in a fucking police briefing room right out of a Japanese version of Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Akari walks out of the restroom in the police department and shakes her hands dry.
No. Unbelievable.
What was the video game that, like the Grand Theft Auto style video game? Wasn't the one Yakuza? There was an earlier one that was sort of
Saints Row.
No. There was one that was like very Japanese, like it was like Japanese Yakuza and detectives, and I can't remember what it's called now. I think of it, but yeah, that's where I'm drawing my conclusions from. Anyway, detective.
You mean Judgment?
You can. Sorry.
Judgment?
No, I don't know.
Okay. So anyway,
yes,
it's on you. You
Sleeping
specifically, James,
Dogs
have showed up here. Sorry.
And I just said detective. Yeah, and Sleeping Dogs.
Oh, you just said the word detective. All right. He takes a long drag from the burning embers of his clove cigarette and then flicks it, and it perfectly right into a 90% drunk cold coffee cup where it sizzles out, and he goes, Kyeda, what can I do for you, sir?
I know that this is outside of your regular purview, but as I said before, you're probably one of the one good men in this city I actually respect. We've been putting together a case indicating that there is a trader operating within Hungetsu Bay looking to sell out the city to the Davian invaders. Either intelligence, we don't know exactly what the nature of their compromise is, but we have managed to narrow it down to specifically the noble houses. We ran a small sting operation, and I hold up like a folder to sort of, with enough evidence to indicate that what we did to sting at this site particularly. We're obviously going to employ our own inquiries, but I think that this is your wheelhouse. I'm a soldier. My fellows are soldiers. You're a detective. You know how to work the angles. You know how to watch the right people. And I think that you're as invested in the safety of the people of Hungetsu Bay as I am. Not organized crime, but it won't matter what the Yakuza's doing here if the Davians take this world over.
Now, you may or may not know that I'm basically living and breathing Game of Thrones right now. Like I've a whole week, I've managed to clear 2.5 seasons of Game of Thrones rewatch. I'm doing Crusader Kings 3 Game of Thrones. We've got the Game of Thrones show out. So I want to toss it specifically to, I want to say it's Matt Smith as Daemon Targaryen reading a scroll on the bridge, and he's like, that's what happens when Hirohito opens your manila folder. He's like,
can I just say, I'm watching a Game of Thrones RPG actual play at the moment on YouTube, and 3 of the characters are named Mara, Miria, and Marcia. I'm like, that's not confusing at all.
Hey, I'm gonna be honest. That's fucking canon Game of Thrones. They're like, there's Rickon, Rickard, Brandon. There's fucking 4 Johns at the same feast. Great John Umber, Jon Snow. Like, come on, man. All right. He is taking a look over. He does the Matt Smith surprised, impressed look face, and he says, well, my lord, I appreciate that you've brought this to me. I don't know what you think I can do about this. It's a little bit outside my wheelhouse, as you say. I would like to help you, but I'm going to need somebody to CYA me. And, to be frank, given your associations with the main target of my actual investigations, I need a reason to get involved. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm law enforcement. I want to catch traitors just as much as anybody. But the traitor I'm looking for is right next door. We cut to Akari Genji in her house, like, throwing a rubber bouncy ball against the wall. Boop, 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 boop. And we cut back and he goes, the most dangerous, insidious threat on the planet that I could think of.
I was going to say we cut to her just like out in the common area of the precinct, like leaning against somebody's desk, like pushing their coffee cup off the side like a cat or something.
Yeah, she's not right.
Yeah. Just being a general nuisance.
The most insidious, dangerous threat possible.
She just knocks some papers off of somebody's desk to watch him pick it up.
And she'll still be there tomorrow when this war's over.
Okay, I want to roll.
Okay. Someone to my boss. I love it when they say, my computer's stuffing up with, too many, operations going on because of Tabletop Simulator and people are stacking dice.
Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew.
So that'll be a 9 on perception.
I know you're the one rolling dice in the corner. Who drew the snail?
It wasn't me.
I still don't know who it is. You eloquently defended yourself for years.
Just the other day, listen, to sidetrack us even further, I was playing my Hinterlands game with Fohammer, and we were getting on Tabletop, and I saw that you had a game open on Tabletop doing Game of Thrones stuff. I don't know if you were just doing it yourself or you had Spoon.
No, I was doing it with somebody else. Yeah, I was
so tempted to log on real quick, draw a snail, and then log off real quick without ever saying anything.
I can see who joins in the upper right corner, man.
I know. That's what would have made it funny.
Are we blind to deploy the garrison?
If you missed it, I rolled a 9 on persuasion. I've got +0.
You did. It's true.
9 is good. 9 is good. All right. You lean hard on your contact, but you're an intelligence officer, and this guy is a not even noble, low-ranking police functionary. And just the social pressure that you can put on this guy, an implacable face in the storm of his unwillingness to do this, and he says, okay, you're right. Akari Genji will be here tomorrow, unless it's her.
I'm not saying don't investigate that angle. I'm just saying don't get tunnel vision.
Look, I've got a couple of officers that I can task to watch the city hall. It's not far from here. But I have to tell you, if it gets out that I'm investigating the Baron of the city, the Shugo is going to absolutely not just fire me. I'm probably going to be asked to spill my own guts. So I need somebody running cover for me. I need a better reason than just 'cause. So if you can figure out a good cover story for me as to why I'm working with you, that would help me out a lot. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go get those officers, get them a box of donuts, a case of clove cigarettes, and some coffees, and get them sitting outside City Hall recording who's going in and out.
Keep an eye on your internal mail. You might get something shortly.
Okay. As he leaves, Noir Jazz is playing ba, 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 as the smoke of his extinguished clove cigarette rises out of the coffee cup.
So my next call would be to my handler to say that I need somebody. I need the ISB to basically give this guy the ISF. Sorry, yeah, the ISB.
I could
sorry,
get you the ISB if you want.
You've been watching Andor, haven't you? I haven't started watching season 2, have you?
Watched season 2 of Andor.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But I know,
Don't worry.
the ISB
season
featuring.
1 ISF was already, or ISB was scary enough.
Yep. But no, so yeah, I think that the angle I want to try and play is to get, you know, men in black suits to give him the instructions so that he's got something, like if it goes bad, he can fall back on something that says that I was told to do this by people I can't name, or you know, who are not named to me.
So your cover for him is basically to have the ISF be like, we need this guy, to the police.
Or to him to say, literally the ISF would say to him, we need you to do this as discreetly as possible.
Yes.
If you get caught, we're your fallback. This letter is your proof that you are following higher orders.
Now we've entered the realm of anime, specifically a Gundam show where someone holds up a warrant officer's license and goes, I can do whatever I want. I'm a warrant officer.
Yeah. All I know is a guy to him is wearing glasses that you can never see his eyes. There's always like a reflection on the glasses. You know?
Ah, yes, of course. Okay. All right. I think that after several days of observing the local area, he brings you back a list of court gossip of relevant things. There has been an enormous amount of friction between Shiro and Koji no Sagi. Shiro is pushing for Koji to essentially name him like co-emperor, essentially give him unlimited political power within the city to prepare for the transition when he retires or dies. You know, basically like a crown prince situation where people recognize how powerful Shiro is. And Koji has flat out refused to do that. And faction lines are starting to get drawn on the council. Lord Cho of Clan Sung has backed, unsurprisingly, the Baron. And the newly minted Samurai Red Hime is backing the young Shiro no Sagi. Jizo Sakamoto, who is representing the Sakamoto clan, has stopped showing up to meetings, essentially. Like, you get a report saying that he showed up to, like, the first day, and then, like, day 2 and day 3, he just didn't show up and sent somebody to say that he was sick or something. He just avoided the issue entirely. And then Lady Iwasaki of Clan Sakura has been playing it very cagey. So, you know, it's a unbalanced, very difficult situation where there's no Takeda representative. The Clan Sakura Iwasaki, not picking a side. The Sakamoto clan has just pieced out entirely. They've just chosen to not get involved. And then you know that Koji, not a mech warrior, Shiro, mech warrior with a mech that has a flamethrower. So the threat of him taking violent military action, if he is a psychopath enough, quite high. On the other hand, the Baron has control of the local militia, which includes a rifleman battle mech, several warrior H7 helicopters, a Shiloni fighter for like high level reconnaissance, and some galleon tanks which have been stationed around the city at major intersections in order to reinforce the people's faith that the city is still defended. You go to work, you pass a giant war machine, and you go, we're so well defended. These are the people that are in play, and the traitor is one of these individuals.
So I guess this conversation is when we're all back together again. I think that it's in our best interests to shake up the political landscape as much as possible, because even if we miss the mark on the traitor, if the whole thing becomes a political mess, the traitor's power is potentially diminished. That being said, that does have other flow-on effects into the stability of this city for which we are sworn. I mean, my initial thought would be that we help young what's his name? The Shogu's son. So what's the family name? Family name of the
family
Baron?
name is Nosagi, means rabbit.
Nosagi. We help young Nosagi rise up and take power. If he's the traitor, we need to make sure that that rise is contingent upon him committing all in to the city, to the world. And if he's not, then that mixes up. The whole political landscape changes when the Baron changes. So that could mean, for example, trying to convince the old Baron to step down. Undermining his power base or supporting his opponents to the point that he has no choice but to retire and put his son in place. But if we did that, we need his son to know that he's stepping into a responsibility. This is not the enemy potentially helping him rise to power. It's an expectation that he protects his city. I think it's harder to find them all and also maintain the status quo.
I think you're right. I think removing the Baron is probably covers the most bases because it creates the most amount of political chaos, and then somehow getting the sun in our pocket to where we can either keep an eye on him as to whether or not he's a traitor and also commit him to our cause, through basically placing him on the throne, right?
Yeah.
And internally, Akari likes this idea because this fits into her plan of leveraging a marriage with this guy, which would be a great way to commit her to the city and to our cause in exchange for putting him on the throne and removing his dad as an obstacle.
I would think, if you're okay with it, that the next step would be for you to go to this guy and say that we, as representatives of the military now, or of the defense of Valentina, would offer to try and sway the opinion of the other nobles towards his case, but that we want to make sure that he is on board with total victory for Valentina if he were to assume power. Yeah, you don't need me to tell you how to convince somebody to follow what you want.
Right.
That's your area of expertise, but I think you're the person to do it.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. It'd be nice if we had some dirt on his dad beforehand. I don't know how we go about, now that we've narrowed it down to this sphere, how do we narrow it down to an individual, or can we?
I mean, you have theoretically a Yakuza network behind you. Fabricating criminal evidence is not outside your capability. But doing that
for sure
starts to expose your relationship to them, which has heretofore been secret. Ooh, I got to say heretofore, and I might not have used that correctly. English professor out there, get in the comment section.
Hear me out, because I have an idea, and it's probably bad, and I just need someone outside my head to tell me it's bad.
Those are the best ideas.
Right. What if we go to the current Baron and just say, we need to put you in protective custody because we've discovered a plot on your life. Take him somewhere, hide him away, and then while he's gone, just say the son is now acting Baron until XYZ.
The Baron's bodyguards remove him from power so that the next in line. This is classic Roman Empire.
Because if we keep him safe and it does turn out to be his son, we can bring him back and be like, surprise, motherfucker. Your dad is okay and he's back. Give him his power back. And then we can back him up with 3 battle mechs. As opposed to his 1 fire starter. And if it turns out the Baron is or whoever, whether it's the Baron or someone on the Baron's side, we've squashed that camp.
I don't hate it.
I do want to mention, because it hasn't been discussed so far, I don't know that your characters would say this distinctly, but as players, one thing I haven't heard so far is that because this is a versus scenario, overt actions you take that have identified the traitor may allow the Davian show characters to more easily narrow in on who their potential collaborator could be, right? They also don't know who they are, and the more overt your actions are, the faster they can narrow in on it as well.
I guess I hadn't realized that.
Yes,
I thought they would already
that was starting
know.
to become clear to me when you guys were like, we could just bring battle mechs in after publicly taking the Baron away, and I'm like, oh man, Eric Vulgaris is gonna absolutely tell me that he's been listening to the local radio and watching the news station, and that he knows everything that you just did, and that's very reasonable.
Yeah, I was curious as to how the versus part of this was going to come into play.
You guys move first, and they move in response.
That changes my strategy, maybe.
So far, I don't think you guys have done anything that would, without an excellent roll from the Davian players, alert them to the identity of the person within the city, or even the sub-faction of where to go to.
Well, do you think putting the Baron in protective custody alerts them to anything?
I think if it's publicly known that the Baron has been placed in protective custody by his bodyguards, and that the Sun takes power, that will make the news and will absolutely let them know. I mean, they know who you are, Akari Genji. They know what your job is, and if the news comes out and says Akari Genji just did something, they're going to go, well, that's super sus.
Yeah.
Ah, see, now you've reached the cat and mouse portion of today's
Now I must ponder. Yeah.
Akari, there's one thing that I don't ask this in relation to this mission. This is more of a personal nature, but I think the only person who can help me do this, or at least you know the people that could. What would be the chances of taking out, or would Sun show, maybe bombing his car or something like that?
Wow, we just escalated this to the next level.
How should I answer this question?
Hold on. I need to know where you're having this conversation and who is in the room.
Probably, I mean, we have a vehicle we're talking about in.
Yeah, it's got to be back in our luxury APC.
And it's just the two of you, just the three of you.
I'm happy for Siegfried to be there.
Probably the three of us. Yeah.
Okay. It's treason then.
I have the limo driver roll up the little divider window, you know, that's in the APC driver.
As we know from Andor Season 1, classically, that prevents anyone from listening into the back.
It's foolproof. I just love that James's character is asking me this question. Like, he is definitely hit a new rock bottom, and that he's asking for like the plausibility and actionability of criminal activity, of a criminal assassination. Even if hypothetically, if I knew how or who could get that done, we are in a position uniquely suited to facilitate that, as we provide him with security intel. So I do not think it would be overly complex, hypothetically.
Let me just explain my thinking. So he's long been an ally of my family. He helped me get started once things happened with my parents. But I don't trust him. I don't know why I don't trust him. I don't have evidence that says he is in the wrong. I think that I would, even if he was the traitor, I would struggle to find proof because he is so politically savvy. I have other angles I could go through to try and action this, but I don't think that I have the information to satisfy them that this is the right course of action. Just all this talk about potentially destabilizing the court, and made me think that if there is a time for me to remove this shackle from my conscience, that now is the time to do it.
We're talking about Lord Cho, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of the Baron. He was one of the Baron supporters, right? AP.
Right. His #1 guy, right? Does all his investigations and stuff. I think
he's Odin's executioner, whose job is to execute his vision and also his enemies.
Yeah. From Texas.
We just,
Des and Troy.
Just a hypothetical right now, but I've made my intent clear to you.
It aligns.
No matter what, I can't answer what I've just said.
Yeah, it aligns with our goals of creating some political instability in order to both confuse the enemy and root out, security vulnerabilities within our own ranks. It could also serve as a misdirect for other activities we might engage in to locate and shut down any security threats. So I think it's the right time and place for.
I mean, assassination of a high-ranked, influential individual would certainly be valid reason for a lockdown in secure processes in other areas.
So I feel like we're looking at a sort of three-pronged attack, right? We're looking at neutralizing the Baron, propping up the Sun, and assassinating Lord Cho. And this gives us casts a bit of a wide net as far as what perception would be and what might exactly be going on, because I think that introduces a lot of chaos into the system. I don't think it identifies to the enemy who the security vulnerability could be necessarily.
I mean, it may eliminate the security vulnerability's total influence as well. It could be someone we haven't even thought of, but if the power in court changes so rapidly, right, they can't adjust, and that's why I think it's vital that all this is dependent upon you reaching some sort of accord with Nosagi's son.
Is there any value in assassinating Lord Cho, but using it as a bit of a false flag? Can we put out the intel and fake perhaps that he survived the assassination and he's in a secure location? That way his name stays on the enemy's lists of potential security issues. It doesn't take their target from 3 to 2, right? It keeps it at 3, but we eliminate it on our side.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have the right answer, yes or no, to that. I guess that's just one other thing to consider.
Okay.
Siegfried, you've been very quiet this whole time.
I'm wondering if maybe we're being too hasty or we're being too fast. We have we've narrowed it down to like 5 suspects.
Is that right, Arthur? 5? Or is it?
I think it might be 6. Let me just double check here. So, Lady Iwasaki of Clan Sakura, Lord Cho of Clan Sung, a yet to be named Takeda representative who hasn't showed up, Jizo Sakamoto, Red Hime, Koji and Shiro Nosagi. I think that covers everybody. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then if a Takeda shows up, 7. Probably. I think I've given away the game on that because they haven't showed up, so they literally can't be the traitor.
So my thought is, and some of this might even be metagaming, and I actively try not to metagame.
Go ahead.
But like, we've narrowed it down to a list of suspects, and any action we take could potentially tip our hand to any one of those suspects. It could even tip our hand to the enemy. I would say, could we consider a more defensive option, or something where we observe some more, see what the enemy's action is, and then respond to them? Or do you think that would be acting too late? How proactive do we want to be in this matter?
Well, we definitely don't want to.
It depends what the nature of the detection is. We're thinking that what they're going to do. Like, is it literally that they're going to literally defect the enemy side and take intelligence with them, or is it we think they're going to defect and act as a double agent, providing ongoing comfort and care, assistance to the enemy? Like, if it's purely defect and extract, then it may be too late to respond by the time we realize who it is.
I think we can make a roll to get more determination on that.
What's
the nature of the...
I think security, although if you have an alternative, idea rather than security, I'll listen. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Looking at my sheet.
Everyone's checking to see what they're good at. So I think with
athletics... The skill bargaining commence.
By use business.
If you can, unironically, I think that there might be a way to use business, but you're going to have to pitch me on it. I'm not going to make it up for you. All right, I might make it up for you. Classically well-known. I guess it's not that well-known.
Not smart enough for that.
In the early 90s, the FBI started a sting on Congress where they offered bribes to Congress members, and they picked up about a quarter of the congressional representatives, and they all lost their jobs and were all charged with stuff. And immediately in the aftermath, Congress made it illegal for the FBI to run stings on Congress. But yeah, I mean, it was a huge deal at the time, but the media kept it kind of quiet. It's real. You can look it up, but it did not make the news very, very much. You have a law enforcement officer on your side. You could have them, sniff around. You've got business contacts. If you wanted to start offering bribes to people to see if the traitor goes to take the bait, I think that's reasonable. I'll probably make the difficulty a little higher than normal, but yeah, using business ain't bad.
A bit of entrapment.
Yeah.
James has told stories about times people have tried to bribe him as a businessman, and he said, no, that's illegal. That seems really reasonable, actually. I could go for it.
I haven't told the other stories where I did take the bribe.
Okay, well, we're being recorded right now, so I'm going to assume you're joking for any Royal Australia police officers. They might want to question me in regards to any crimes you've committed. I have nothing to say.
I don't know. How do we feel about this?
I think
this is a super interesting idea, actually.
I think it's a good idea to narrow it down and get more information.
Yeah.
I'd love it not to be 6 people. I'd love it to be like 3.
Yeah.
But how do we figure out, so we're talking about figuring out the nature of the security leak, right?
Does anyone actually have security? Let me ask that first.
No.
I don't, but I have some unspent points, so I mean, I could.
so do I, for that matter, actually.
I have a level 2 in business, which is a +1.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to it. But the business DC is going to be higher than the security DC.
I think the business DC is probably going to be 9, and I could take an argument for either intelligence or charisma, if that will narrow down whether you feel like commit to that.
All my stat mods are 0 with the exception of strength.
So with a +1, you're looking at slightly less than a 50% chance of success.
Yeah.
In which case, we're better off with Brad, who has the ability to reroll once per session.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless the Eric Vulgaris is 4 1s in a row.
And you have security, Brad.
I have security. I have it above untrained.
So a +0.
So +0.
So your intelligence is +1, though.
My intelligence is a +1. How much XP did we get for the last thing?
I think I put it in chat. Did I say?
I think you won't level though. Like we're a long way off leveling
for
now.
you guys?
I don't think I would have leveled, but it is
just a bunch of messages with me. Go 1250.
1250, 12,500.
No,
Oh,
1,250.
That gets me to 10,300.
So just to leak our Discord private messages to the audience real quick, I had to go through about 6 iterations of me going, "Are we good this week?" and somebody going, "No," before I got to the last episode.
No, I'm still about 2,000 experience from level 5.
So you could get a +2, I think, on security if you.
So I have 3 unspent points. I could
think
spend
that
them.
is enough to take a level 2 as a class skill. It's page 64 that will tell us the truth. Character advancement. You are class skill level 2. It is 3 points, so you can exactly get a second level of security.
That would take me to a +1.
That would take you to a +1. With your intel of +1, you'd be looking to hit an 8 with a +2, so slightly better than 50% with a reroll.
All right, we'll do that.
What's your plan for security?
That's worth it.
Just analyzing intel that the police officers are getting you, trying to narrow down suspects.
I was gonna say, could I just give him the business assets and or give Akari the business assets and let her?
I actually like the two of you working
team
together on this. I'll give you another +1 if you work together on it.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you have a pegboard somewhere with like red yarn joining all the various 6 people as we collect all the information from the detective and pin it up,
Me, Akari, and the detective all in the room with the pegboard.
Oh man,
doing a montage.
Akari and Hiro working
together.
Working together on a corkboard with yarn and string.
There's an awkward moment where they're both putting string and connecting.
They touch
the same person and their hands touch.
It's Lady and the Tramp, but they both
Lady
hate
and the
each
Tramp.
other.
We both have yarn in our mouth and we're winding it up. Yeah.
Maybe that's a blooper shot. I don't know that I want to make that canon. What? I don't know why you'd put yarn in your mouth, Rad, but.
So can I just say, did everyone see that Fohammer posted bus flipper simulator video on Discord this week? I downloaded the demo, and 100% the first level is the Breaking Bad van. Like you're clearing out it's the exact van, it's clearing some meth lab, and you're clearing out and flipping it to a regular RP again.
That's so funny. I gotta tell my wife about that. I think she might like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the 3 of us, exactly as he described. 3 of us are working it.
You want to hit an 8 and you have a reroll.
Okay, here we go.
I'm looking at your dice. Go ahead.
These transparency dice.
Did you fucking turn the dice transparent? God, you're such a weirdo. Damn, that's a really good roll.
13.
Okay, that's a 13. I mean, that's so good. Yeah, okay.
That's 2 dots away from the max roll it could have been.
Yeah. Okay. Here's how it goes down. Rad, you are absolutely part of this sting operation. You've got the police officer doing the legal side of it. You have Arnsson's hotel business offering illegal bribes, right, under the table to get permits moved along and stuff like that, working their way through the local bureaucracy up to the Lord's Council chamber levels. And I think you absolutely nail Shiro Nosagi on this. Like, you get this moment of intense arrogance from him that you offer him the bribe and he's laughing and he's just like, that's not nearly enough for the next Baron of the city. Things are about to change around here in a sort of drastic way, Mr. Mr. Arnsson. I'm going to need a lot more. But trust me, you want to be on my good side. And none of it is incriminating for treason, but it's definitely highly suggestive in a way nobody else has gone for the hook.
We definitely have all these rooms bugged, and we're recording the shit out of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
He's
Can I have
too
one more
cocky
thing
to
to
realize
say?
that I'm wearing a wire.
I think definitely, you know, in this montage scene of us working this out, there definitely is a bit where Hirohito goes to leave, and the last thing he says to Akari is "Catch you later."
Catch you. Okay, I don't want to move the plot too much farther forward because I don't want to get to the part where you guys are like, okay, well, we arrest him and move him away, and then the Davians don't get to do anything. But I do want to offer you an opportunity to obfuscate the trail or set up a trap for the Davians when they come down. You successfully identified the person. It's highly unlikely any of the members of the cast will watch this show, but just in case they did, is there something you want to do to either smokescreen your trail or make it so that if they go to do something, the police are there waiting for them?
Can we...
Hear me out a second.
Yes.
Is there a way we can try and get Show to reconcile with the sun in a meeting that explodes?
And can we do it while
Sorry,
the
you
Oath
want
of
to kill...
Endosteel cast is present?
You want to kill
Can they also
Sung
be in the
Cho
ring?
and Shiro Nosagi while they're in a room together?
Or a car? I'm not
Okay.
partial. Like I'm not locationist.
Again,
And-
here's the
And
thing, though.
Eric's character as well.
In the next episode of this show, absolutely, yes, you can immediately kill Shiro if the Davians haven't gotten to him. I just don't want you to do it before the Davians have had any
Have a
opportunity
chance.
to act.
Yeah,
No.
Sure,
I want it to happen when they're getting to him. Is what I'm saying.
I see. So so your plan is to lay the trap that is the bomb will explode and kill both of these men.
Well, and potentially implicate the Davians in the process.
Okay. That's probably
Yeah.
going to be at least 2 different roles that will require you to get good successes.
Okay, and I think that this would be probably something I would be wanting to pitch once again through the handler, because you know, like this is disruptive, but it's like I think it's valuable and that it will not only help us, because otherwise, if it's unclear who killed them, it leads to an investigation. It leads to unraveling all these little plots that we've already had going. If there's a smoking gun and the Davians are holding it, then
And it's so nice that it
wraps
gets
up the...
your problems out of the way. Yeah.
So do we want the trap to be if the Davians choose either of those 2 individuals in their search to find the traitor, then they blow up and it looks like the Davians did it?
Then there's an opportunity that they blow up. It doesn't just happen automatically. With no
Right.
notice.
Yeah. That's a trap. That's how we want the trap to go.
Yes, you want the trap to be if they investigate either of these 2 individuals.
So if they
enter the
investigate-
bomb scenario.
If they investigate not these 2 individuals, do we still want the bomb scenario to happen anyway?
I think it needs
That's
to.
a next episode
think
question.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that I could potentially go to Sun Cho as his ally and say, we've got evidence, or no, we've got strong suspicion that Nasagi's son is planning a coup, but we can't prove it. And you're a real power shaker, Cho. Could you go and talk with him, and you can see if you can get you can get to the heart of this matter and potentially reconcile father and son and be the hero in the process.
And then have Cho blow up also?
Yeah, that's
So
yeah.
while you're talking to him, you put a bomb in his car.
Well, somebody does.
And then he drives to the meeting and the car goes off and explodes. And then
Potentially.
a guy in an SUV nearby goes, "No!"
Could we
banging on the window?
This is just another variation of the same thing. Could our trap involve misdirecting the enemy towards Cho and then making it look like the enemy and Cho colluded to blow up the other two?
Ooh.
That's true.
Then Cho is
help them
framed
find...
for like, then Cho also has a smoking gun, so then we can execute him as well.
Yeah, we could leave an orgy of evidence to lead them to the meeting. You know, if we're worried they might miss the meeting, we might, be able to seed information into there.
This is me, Matt Smith, reading the manila folder you've left me.
Yeah. All right. So, I'm hearing roles necessary.
Is the final plan then to leave, bomb or not bomb real? We can leave that for next episode. But fabricating a trail of evidence leading to the wrong person to be implicated, that is the role right now, is what I'm hearing.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, you tell me how you want to go about this, and I'll give you a difficulty. I think that there are a lot of ways to go about this, given your resources.
I mean, I could see things like potentially your culture criminal Rad might play in here, or persuade even. If it's just purely a matter of speaking to people and trying to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, could persuade be interpreted as a persuasive trail of evidence?
Yes, but it won't be charisma in that case. I think it would be intelligence. Instead.
I would agree, because that would be better for me.
Did you just talk me into giving you a higher bonus?
Yeah.
That's okay, because the higher bonus isn't the purpose of what I said. It's to legitimately represent your character.
I would think so.
But it sucks that it's better for you. And I'm noticing that without saying it, what James did was turn to the character that has a reroll and start listing their skills. Just so you're aware, audience, I noticed that immediately, in case you missed it.
Who can aid me in this to give me another plus?
Yeah, I could, because I've got the relationship to introduce you into this situation. I've got the relationship with Sancho.
This does hinge
sounds like a bonus,
on
maybe.
your history.
But how exactly is this going down? How is the trail of evidence being laid? I need to know the broad structure.
I
think that the argument is all right.
Thanks to Arnsson, we have all their business stuff. So with that access and with the meeting that we held with all of them in the hotel, I feel like we can begin to identify a skeleton of intelligence gaps that we can fill with the information we want to make it look like a little bit more of a legitimate threat, right? Because it's not a surface. We're not going to make it obvious. We're going to make it to where somebody has, this is uncovered under the course of a professional investigation. We don't want it to look amateur. We want to mix the correct amount of truth and planted evidence to make it as legitimate and convincing as possible. Because Cho is a smart guy, he wouldn't leave a sloppy trail, right? He's an investigator himself. So we want to use Hiro's relationship with Cho and our psychological profiling of him that we have as the Shogun's right-hand man and lead investigator in all things justice. We want to leverage that background and that role that he plays against him by building a case that he himself, if he were to investigate himself, he would find himself guilty, right? Like that's the type of evidence we want to build.
I think the story needs to be that Cho has long been a supporter of the Baron. Mm-hmm. But that he's become disillusioned with the situation in Valentina, with the Baron losing power, with this invasion, and his mind is being changed now. He is now in it for himself. He's going to meet with the Baron's son about potentially withdrawing support from the Baron, moving to the Baron's son, which is not necessarily the best move for the city. He is looking to get get out with what he's got, and so therefore he is an open opportunity for the Davians to recruit.
Okay. So your cover story, just to simplify it even more, is that this is a guy who's betraying his lord. He's retiring. He's going to Davian land. He's getting out. He's taking as much with him as he goes, and he's having the son basically be the fall guy and take all the blame. So yeah. You are reverse fall guying him to be the one that takes the blame. Okay. Yeah. Let's make the roll. And before you re-roll, be aware, if this roll goes poorly, I'm going to send the Davians in the other direction to make it clear that this is a reverse fall guy situation. And this roll will also set the difficulty for the Davian players. So if you succeed, but it isn't very high, you may want or have to risk a re-roll.
Do we want Cho to be supporting the sun? If we want it to make it look like Cho blows them both up? Do we want that to be...
But he's on his way out. He wants to defect to the Davians while stealing everything in the area that isn't nailed down.
That part.
And we're blaming the Davians for the explosion, not Cho.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, because the explosion will kill Cho too.
Yes, it will. Okay, I understand. Okay. We ready?
Okay, you have a +1.
Okay.
From
I have a
total of 4 altogether.
Okay, so total of +4.
Okay, that's really fucking high. Well, those dice didn't actually roll. They stopped.
Yeah, what just happened?
Through.
Yeah.
I might have like fat fingered the E key. What does E do?
You're hitting F. You're flipping the dice.
No, this is E.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's just rotating.
That's weird. Okay, ignore that. I'll roll again. Here we go.
Okay, rolling again.
I'll try not to fuck it up this time.
He didn't fuck it up.
Okay, so that's 7 plus 4 would be an 11.
Do you... this is definitely enough to succeed. Do you think that this is enough to be Eric Garrison team, an 11?
So let's just quickly look at your rule about re-rolling dice to see if you can roll one or both the dice.
You re-roll both the dice.
Is it?
Yes.
Promise?
Yes. And
it's unclear.
I hesitate to mention it, but I don't think Rad has used his once-a-year Christmas re-roll yet, which I will allow. If you re-roll the dice and fail, you can use your annual Christmas gift re-roll to re-roll the re-roll, just to make it as confusing as possible.
So can the annual Christmas gift re-roll just one dice?
Just one dice? Yeah.
Let me read what I put down here. I want the language to apply evenly to all people. A re-roll of any of your rolls, anytime, no questions asked. Anytime, no questions asked. Makes it sound like you can re-roll one of the dice instead of both.
It's like a Supreme Court decision. This is going to set precedent for the rest of everyone else's Christmas roll.
It's only the end of May, Rad. Are you okay with something that's only the end of May?
I don't know. Will I need this re-roll in Game of Thrones? That's the real question. Will there be some scenario
in
where
Game
the Lord
of Thrones,
Light
you can
needs to
avoid a
bring
lot
your
of
character
bad
back
situations by blowing a destiny point. So,
so Brad, here is a question. Would you prefer more to do well at Game of Thrones or to screw Eric Vulgaris?
That's an easy answer. Easy. We're using it now. Thank you, James, for that clarity. Woo! All right, we're
somebody
our
clip that for Eric Vulgaris. Just that one part. Okay.
I'll take it.
You have moved that to a
so it's
9
now
plus 4 is 13. Okay, so Eric Vulgaris is probably going to need double 6s or 11s just to match this. So the fix is in. Only the greatest detective on their luckiest day could possibly reverse this frame job that you're perfectly setting up.
Eric has his Christmas reroll too, presumably.
Yes.
So,
unfortunately for us, they're going to bring back the guy who solved the crab strangler case.
Yeah. It's gonna be
That's big. They brought
epic reveal.
How is the Crab Strangler still relevant? Someone said something about him last week.
That's like the after credit scene, you know? It's like everything's going terrible. It's Empire Strikes Back. The movie ends on a down note, and then there's Fish is revealed in the after credit scene coming to save the day. I'll do it myself, and he puts on the Infinity Gauntlet.
It's the Wedge Antilles of the show.
yeah. It's Captain Barbossa coming down the steps at the end of Pirates of the Caribbean too.
Yeah. What a
My wife
great
is
actor.
making fun of
Jeffrey Rush killed it.
Get out of here, you.
You okay, Rad?
Yes, my wife is assaulting me.
Okay.
I'm fine. It's not a very effective assault. Stop! No, don't hurt me. Okay.
We're recording. We have evidence.
Look, I'm going to give you guys 2,000 experience points.
All right.
I think it's fair to say that you did exceptional this episode.
I think the dice were in our favor.
There's no question. You absolutely narrowed down who it is, and then you laid an excellent trap. I mean, not only were the dice in your favor, you used your boon very smartly. I mean, you went from 30 NPCs to 6 in the first 10 minutes. So,
yeah.
You stacked aids for each other. You had tons of +1s everywhere. It was well run. Well run. Andrew, I'm sorry we didn't get to hear more from you today.
No, you're good.
I know you felt like you were kind of quiet, and I couldn't really figure out how to be like, so Siegfried, what's going on with you?
This was definitely the lead for the two subterfuge characters, the ISF and the Yakuza character. So,
well, listen. To be fair, you were the voice of reason, and we're like, wait. Before we start assassinating people, let's maybe try to narrow it down one more time.
Now, something else to consider, since it seems like you've solved this so quickly, it's literally just going to be 1 week of you, then the other team, and then back to you to finish the frame up job and kill people. I thought maybe there would be multiple back and forths, but you have fucking zoomed in. You went to your lab tech in the police and we're like, enhance, blow up that quadrant, enhance. The next phase, the final mission, will be cooperative, and it will involve each of you picking, and I'll be asking the other team, but if you want to come up with idealized partnerships, it'll be 3 episodes that are one person from this cast and one person from the other cast teaming up for an unlikely duo to go to 3 different sites together. Davian, Kyeda team up, you know, the Russian guy and the American guy facing down against the Bond villain sort of deal. So if you have a partner that you think your character would be ideal with, it's time to start thinking about that.
I would probably pitch, you know, Rad and Eric, you know, are the classic competition.
You say that, but I do want to remind you that Rad and Sam specifically have been pushing for character
true. But I was going to say also that Sam's character has history with Siegfried as well. From
Yes.
Yep.
So that was potentially a pitch was Akari and I don't know the name. So Rad and Eric, Andrew and Sam and me and Eddie. So,
I have ideas, but I'll share them off camera.
Yeah, the other thing to consider as well is that Eric's time zone is different. So I might be easy for Eric, for example, if it's a time zone question. But
it is going to be a time zone question for sure.
I like that Eric a little bit. His angle into like digging into Hangatsu Bay is like the Yakuza. So he's like building his own little like gangster army, and he's eventually gonna be like, all right, now take me to your boss. And then there's gonna be like a Dr. Evil turnaround in the chair moment with Akari, with like the cat. It's like, you've been infiltrating my organization, you idiot. Like,
yeah, I could see that. Like me and Eddie would be like the actually working together. Oh, thanks. Yeah, you were really helpful. Friendly collaboration thing. But the other two could easily turn into PvP. So.
Yes. Any post-episode commentary on this, frankly, monumentally good episode for you?
What's crazy is now they'll have the opportunity to do their thing, and then we'll have another opportunity at the end to ensure that they fail as hard as possible.
Technically, they had the same opportunities to do that on their first serve. They just, fumbled it on absolute roll chaos.
Well, they did, but they were able to recover a lot. Like, the outcome of that first mission could have been way worse for them. They definitely softened the blow significantly in their second round, for sure.
Yep.
It's still quite bad.
Yeah. Well.
Because in the end, whatever the roleplay consequences, it's a 1-0 on the wins-losses. So if you win this part, no matter what happens in the third part, you've already pushed a near total victory in the war.
Yeah. I had fun, as always.
Good. I know it's been a rough time for you. And you've got mysterious stuff about the Game of Thrones show to work on.
I do. I need to sit down and talk to people about it, I guess. Got to find time you and James one or both of you can hang out with me and talk Game of Thrones stuff. Because I feel like, I don't know, just
you
knowing
could talk
myself.
to Savannah. She loves collaborating with people, and she's quite familiar with the system now. I don't know. Spoon is out here like, I don't have enough money to buy items for my character. How do I make more money?
I sound like a baby, but I just know myself well enough to know that it's going to be hard for me to sit down on my own and read through a rule book and understand the system.
That's super reasonable, though, right?
It'd be a lot better for me to have a homie sit down with me and be like, "Hey, let's do this together."
A lot of groups do collective character creation.
If that's during character creation that you want to film, and however you want to do it, you let me know. But we'll pick a time. We'll figure it out.
I was going to ask you a question, but I'll ask it after we've stopped recording. Only because I don't want to go too far down the Game of Thrones thing on recording.
Okay. Then let's stop recording now, audience. Wink.